Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. I always have to look now for a dry spot on the roof because it continues raining. Right now it doesn't rain. Don't know whether it will start after a moment. My roof of leaves is starting to have many holes, so I have to find a place where it's not raining on the computer after that. So far it works. Let's start with the subject. Mariano has written to me. Unfortunately, he's again in the hospital. Difficulties with his heart. So we wish him all well to recover quickly. But what he was asking, he said he is reading now and getting more to the root of Christian mystic, of Christian spiritualism. And he wonders whether I can say something about the truth being there in all the religions. Of course, the truth is there in all the religions. All the religions, they are calling to God, to a higher power, to that which is at the base of this manifestation, to that which makes all this possible. Unfortunately, when the religion gets organized, it has the tendency to put layers and layers and layers over the essential truth. And not all that is coming out of it is with the best intentions, but rather as soon as there is an organization, as soon as there is a hierarchy, then the hierarchy, those who are higher up in the hierarchy want to protect their position. That's the human way, has been so far. What matters when anyone who is in a religion, what matters is that they seriously want the truth. And if that sincerity is there in the rituals, with the form of the religion, they can connect with that one essential reality. And that is what counts. Then if they may have religious experiences, they may be quite different, fitting into the conditioning of the mind within that religious framework. The Christian rather sees Jesus or Mary, when they see visions, and not the prophet, like a Muslim would rather see the prophet. Hindus, they can see, they have a number of choices. They can see those deities they feel most attracted to. All these forms, they are expressions of the once and same reality. And the essence is there in all the religions. Then in the form, in the doctrine, it may deviate from it. It is now well known, it cannot more be denied, because too many sources have confirmed that the Bible has been very much manipulated. I don't know exactly when, I think in the 3rd century, but I may be wrong about the time. They sat together, all those who had anything to say in the forming of the religion. And in the text that exists, they have taken out things that didn't fit in the doctrine they wanted to preach. And there were many other texts, they come to light now, slowly, one after the other. And we can see that what Jesus taught was often much more straight, pointing to the essence. And after that, this was weakened with their manipulation, but still it's there. Jesus, even in the Bible as it exists, is telling us that we are all essentially divine, like he is. He's not claiming he's the only Son of God. That's a fabrication that people did after that. He's not the only manifestation of God. He makes clear, expressing it, I'm the Son of God, meaning he's a manifestation of that divinity. But he makes it also clear we are all his sisters and his brothers. And we have the same potential. When people make a big fuss about the miracles he has made, he tells people, you all are going to do things like this and much greater than that. Very little of this divine potential is being taught in the mainstream teaching of the organized religion, but there were always mystics who came to it. There were times they had to be very careful how they were talking about it, because otherwise they were ending up on the stake, being burned, because the church didn't like what they said. It was not more supporting the authority of the church and the power over people. That was a very important thing. Now the church has not more the power. It used to have previous, it had a tremendous political power, and they didn't want to lose it. So whoever said things getting more to the straight truth, they were simply removed. Humans, it's still happening. Nobody gets burned, but the mechanism is still the same. And so it was in other religions. I don't know as detailed about them as I know about Christianity. The Asian religions have the advantage that they can accept that one divinity can manifest in so many ways. So they can also accept the other religions easier. Of course, there are always fanatics who believe one aspect. Even amongst Hindus, who are both Hindus, basing their beliefs on the Vedas, still there may be quarrels, severe quarrels between believers of one direction or another direction. But basically, they can easier accept, because in a way, deep down, they always know the way they are worshipping is just one way to connect with the same divinity. And so it's with all the religions. All the religions are calling to a higher power, however they call it, believing that that higher power is there for life and death, for judging about goodness or not goodness. Often that judgmentality comes in. God actually doesn't judge. There's no judgment there. And any member of any religion, if they open their heart with all their beliefs, with all their doctrine, but if they open their heart to that divinity, they will start to feel more and more that divine presence in their daily life from moment to moment. That's what we are aspiring to. That is what somebody is aspiring to who is doing self-inquiry. Is not calling to God, but just brings through the question, who am I? The attention back to that sense of presence that is prior to thinking, to feeling, to doing, to creating concepts and stories. That simple sense of presence, eternally pure. And that sense of presence is the same sense of presence that the devotee of any religion feels, who sincerely keeps on connecting with God and feels that God present more and more. It's the same presence. So it doesn't matter at all. Let's never fight with each other about this religion, that religion, who is right. I know the truth. That's like this. You don't understand. There's nothing to understand. Just be it, connect with it, be it consciously. Live it here now. And then you can call yourself a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Hindu, whatever, a Jew. Or you can call yourself nothing at all of all that. Just be aware that I'm a conscious living being here now. And that connecting with that presence, that is the real religion. The reuniting, the reconnecting. Even the reconnecting is not totally true. It simply seems like that. We are never separate. We are never apart from that. We cannot possibly be apart from that. Simply in our day-to-day experience, our attention has gotten the habit to wander so far away from that awareness that it seems that we have to struggle and then finally to connect, to reconnect. But actually, it's simply becoming aware. It has always been there. It has never been absent. when I called so desperately to get closer, I was always right in the midst of it. That's the big mystic truth about it. And it applies to all religions. All right, now I have been talking for a long time. So I'm asking, is there anyone who would like to talk? You're welcome to come in. Of course, if I keep on talking, and you follow what I say, and even if you had personal question and you follow me talking with attention, then somehow the question disappears for the moment. But if somebody still remembers something they would have liked to ask, you're welcome to come in.
Hello.
Hello, Leora.
So in regards to coming back or bringing the awareness into the present moment, so I've been wondering about, in Vipassana, they teach you to inquire, and they talk about the dependent origination, which is like a series of events that created, that brought me to so and so such and such emotions or situations. So this week, what I've noticed is that actually this inquiry is also a sort of a made up inner speech, inner discussion, where I am telling myself what has been happening, let's say, in the last 5 minutes or last 5 days or whatever, according to or through my glasses. And what happened this week was, together with this realization, I've also felt that very fast I come back to the present moment. Like if something happens and it's not pleasant, somebody said something or I said something, and there's a tendency to go back to inquire about it. But something actually, the energy somehow pulls me back into the present moment, and then I just forget. There isn't even time to actually feel the unpleasant sensations about that, about the event. I just have been like feeling this pulling right away into the present moment. So it's like partly a sharing, or partly like, I guess there are many ways. Of course, I know there are many ways. Yeah.
So you just would like me to comment on that way of going about?
If you wish.
Actually, I don't have anything to comment about it. Whatever works to help you to bring the attention to that timelessness of the now, that is good. And for different people, different things work. And if this works so well for you, then perfectly well. That's fine. Great. Then use that inquiry to bring the attention to the present, and then here now you just remain alert and relax and open and wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. Continue like this. Do that inquiry. It's great.
Yeah.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om. Is anybody else who would like to come? You're welcome. Right, it's in the same wake of what I have been talking before. Laura described a technique one can apply to help to bring the attention to the present. And it's good if the technique suits us. If we resonate with it, then, and if the technique helps us to connect consciously, then this technique is perfect. Any technique that does this is perfect. It's always good to remember when we use a certain way, a certain approach, that it's a crutch for the mind. The technique in itself is not so important, but if it works, it makes sense to use it again and again, and it becomes more powerful. It becomes easier and easier to really connect consciously, to bring the attention to the now and be consciously alive, consciously conscious now. The techniques are crutches. They help us. The details of it are not so important. What counts is that they do the job. And so even if we learn a technique, usually everyone puts a bit their own flavor into it. And it's fine. Basically, what we have to do is so simple. In our complicated mind that has been brought up in a society where everything is very valued, that is very complicated, there we have the tendency to make a lot of complications, to create them. But the essence of the spiritual path, if you can want to call it at all a path, the essence of it is to learn to bring the attention to the now, to be consciously alive, consciously conscious, here and now, timelessly, and let go, relax, and be open. And from here, something starts to unfold. Maybe quite for some time, we don't really feel different in our experience from day to day. Then we get some little pointers in situations where we can easily keep the cool, where we used to get upset. that we can deduce, okay, it seems in spite of me thinking nothing is happening, it seems something is happening there. And then sometimes there is an opening and you become aware, thank, wonderful. Even when I thought not much is happening, something was preparing. And then suddenly the vision gets broader, and so it continues. You can have suddenly a great shift and stay with it. That you just rotate in a totally new perspective, that you experience yourself different, that you experience the whole world different, that you experience what is going on here, what this is all about, very different, and it stays. But this can happen usually with rare exceptions. Usually this can happen only to people who have practiced, who have been preparing themselves, even when they did not quite know what was going on. Somehow the whole stage was prepared to such a point that when that shift happened, it could stay. But it may also happen that you may have openings, experiences, but then they close again and you feel you are back again in your usual state as you were before. But still there is the riches of that experience. But it's good to deal with that when we have openings like this and they go again, that we deal with them in a good way. Because if we start to tell everybody and get proud about it, then we waste the benefit of it, we waste the energy of it. On the other hand, if we just remember the experience and the expansiveness of it, the relaxedness of it, the joyousness of it, whatever it is, it helps in the present also, again, to easier detach from the mind, and it's very important things that we are thinking about and feeling about and wanting and not wanting. So in that sense, such experiences may be great inspirations to continue and helps, not in the sense that we sit here now and try to recreate what happened there. That's again a waste of effort. That was that, but we can draw inspiration from that. After all, even if it's now again closed, I know from my own experience that I can exist in a much broader and vaster condition than what I'm usually in from day to day in my interactions with people, with things, with the whole world, and even with myself. Again, I'm asking, is there anyone who would like to come in?
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Rolly.
Hi. I have two questions. The first one came to my mind just when you were talking about religious.
Yeah.
Or religion. And I have two nieces. So there are the daughters from my sister. And they grew up in a village where the Christian church is quite strong.
Yeah.
And they go to events there, they learn about the Bible. And now they are 16, 19, and also my nephew is 20. They're quite strong involved in this Christianity church and live with that.
Yes.
And when I talk to them, they speak often like things like, okay, all other religion are devil-made, etc. They're quite narrow-minded in this religion path.
Yeah.
So that makes it difficult for me to speak with them about what or how I see things.
Right.
What can I say to them? What can I talk to them about my beliefs, my views, my spiritual path?
Yeah. I think most of the time it is better that you just don't talk about it with them. When you meet them, you talk about day-to-day things. You have a good time with them. And if it comes to religious matters, you may just gently make indications that after all, what counts is how much the heart is connected with God, and not so much the form of it, but don't expect that you can really openly talk about what you believe, what you are doing, and they will accept it. If they are in that stream of belief that everything that deviates from their doctrine is from the devil, usually they don't have any opening that they are ready to listen to something else. Before I came to India, I have been often with Christians, and I went and discussed them. Eventually I gave it up as futile, because it always came to the same, that they couldn't convince me. I couldn't bring over something that I tried to tell. They just thought in a way, it seems that I'm really sincerely interested, but I'm on the totally wrong way. I'm gone off the path. And sooner or later, I will have to find back to the true path, otherwise I will be doomed.
Well, I don't try to convince
Oops.
them. They talk like this. Are you still here?
Yeah, a moment. Because my computer goes over the phone, and there was a phone call that cut it off. So I understood you. Basically, you don't want to convince them, and then it was cut off.
Yes, I don't. Basically, I don't want to convince them at all. And the thing is, just when I hear them talking about that all other religions are made by devil and everything is not true, then I see how fundamental they are already minded. And that makes me quite thinking about that.
Yeah.
Because as you said before, so many people, we shouldn't fight to each other about religions. And in the past, I don't know how many thousand years people fighted about religions.
Yes.
Yes.
Unfortunately. But then, you know, most of the time in those religious wars, the religion was simply an excuse to go to war. But it was the accumulated human aggression that wanted to express itself. And if you do it in the name of God, it's easier to somehow justify yourself. You do it for a good purpose.
Yes, maybe later, but in the beginning of the war, I think there was that problem that you don't believe what I believe.
Yeah.
And there it starts somewhere, and then later it comes to that what you describe. I'm sure, but I see this young people, and they try to find their way in life, and then they got so narrow-minded and opinions like that, and that makes me really thinking.
Yes, it's better that you accept it, but if you can, you still have a friendly, loving connection with them, and the more you are getting deeper, something goes over to them, and on an unconscious level, they still get something from you, even if you cannot discuss it, even if somehow they are not open. Still, I mean, if they say things, if you hear them saying things like that, all the others, it's from the devil, you are still having the right to say that you think that in a way, every religion is worshipping the same God, even if they have other forms, but then don't expect them to accept it.
It's exactly what I said to them, but they have no ear for that, not at all.
So
yeah,
that better to accept it. Yeah.
Yes, once more.
Once more, yes.
Okay. All right. And the other question is about, you often say we are essentially all the same. We are all divine.
Yes.
And so lately I was going through life, and I made a lot of experiences, as we all do. And I thought, okay, some experiences are happy. Sometimes you're sad. Sometimes you have hurts, whatever.
Yes.
And it's still, as long as I remember, I'm not that. I'm playing this role.
Yeah.
So why can I not, or not, maybe that's the wrong sentence or the wrong beginning, but why can I not, or why is it not, is it really necessary to try to be in that moment, to be aware, to be conscious? Why not just living the life as we grow up? For example, you grow up, the mind started to build.
Yeah.
And by your surroundings, you learned at school, you learned things by your parents, by your surroundings, and the mind developed.
Yeah.
And as you often said, it's a good instrument to use. So why not just to use it, but still always be aware that I'm playing this role, and then go through all these experiences with happiness, with sadness,
Yes.
with hurts.
But that's exactly what I'm telling. Live your life, and don't forget that you're just playing it. Be aware that there is that aspect of you that is not affected by it. But if you forget about that, then you get so much involved that invariably it's causing so much of suffering. And if you are fed up with suffering, if you said, no, I have had it, I don't want to suffer, I don't need to suffer, then you can learn to live from a perspective where there is no suffering, even in unpleasant situations. As long as the identification is there so total, then a moment we are happy, next moment we are miserable. And usually the life is, there is a peak of joy, and then it goes down, and one so somewhat survives till the next peak of joy.
Exactly. But, and when I'm aware of that, it's a much lighter, right?
Right.
Okay, and it happens to me quite often, or it is quite often that I can realize that, and then I ask myself, so why should I do spiritual practice still, like I did since 24 years?
Yeah. The reason why it still makes sense is that it helps you to remember. If you stop that, then gradually there will be the tendency that you remember less and less and get again more and more emotionally so caught up that you forget about it.
But is it not just also the life that we choose to live here and to go through these experiences, to experience sadness, to experience pain, to experience happiness?
But you still
in a fully way.
You experience still the sadness. If you are aware that there is something that is not affected, and there is a sad situation, you can completely open up to the experience of sadness. But the difference is that sadness is not going to make you suffer. That sadness in itself can become a very expansive and even beautiful experience. Whereas if you are totally identified there, then invariably the sadness is pulling you into self-pity. Poor me that this is happening. Or even if it's about somebody else that you are sad, then after a moment it's all about me. Poor me who has to see the other person suffer like this. And that is draining your life force away and has a tendency to make your experience smaller. And if you have had enough of it, if you don't want to live in that always narrow little bubble of that me, separate from the others, then it makes sense that you consciously bring your attention back again and again. And that is the spiritual practice, to consciously remind yourself, to connect here now. Now, it just is a great help if you have every day a little time where you are doing nothing else but connecting.
But actually it's much more wertvoll, how you say that?
Valuable
or worth when you practice it through the daily life and through every moment in a automatism.
Yes, but nobody tells you you should not live your daily life. It's helpful if you have every day some time where you withdraw and you collect yourself and really strongly connect without disturbance. Then it's easier to bring that attitude in your daily life. And if you live consciously, you get so much more out of your ordinary daily experiences than when you go half asleep through your life. You are so much more alert, awake, and you live much more intensely. Most of the people, they sleep. they're half asleep. They are going like zombies through their life. And they're
yes, but is that not just the trick of the mind that tells you that? Because I think when we are essentially all already, that everything is there. So why do we do this? The thoughts about that?
Right. Because essentially we remain the same, but that divine essence is curious, is eager to expand the experience of that essential divinity. And so your divine being sends a projection, part of itself, into this world to experience a lot of things. And then this part has the tendency to have the illusion of being its own identity, separate from everything else, but actually it's a projection of what you really are, you who are never really incarnated. You are just projecting part of yourself that appears as Rolly in Switzerland.
Exactly.
Right.
So, yes,
and then
curiosity I get.
Can I
yes.
Continue a little more? Then, if that identity that is forming itself, that the projection forms that ID, I am a person, separate, independent, and then if the mind stays with that, then that experience is relatively shallow and remains like that. But if you start to become aware, hey, there is much more to me, I am so much more than this person I thought, then that daily life experience starts to get life, gets much more juicy, and there is so much more that you really learn, experience how the consciousness expands. Then when you keep your attention simply on that me experience, still everybody who comes into this world and goes through the trouble of living day after day is collecting something very, very beautiful, something even people who have not a single spiritual thought in their life. Simply the way of gaining that is usually very painful and slow. And if you learn to be conscious, that way in itself can be extremely playful and joyous, and it's so much more extensive that you can get 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 times of that beautiful wealth that you can collect in such a human experience if you go through it being awake, and your spiritual practices help you to be more awake. That doesn't mean it has to estrange you from your daily life. If your destiny is, if your intention was from the beginning that you become an ascetic and live somewhere alone in a mountain cave, okay, then that is another story. But it's not your intention, so live your daily life. It simply makes a lot of sense to make that little effort of reminding yourself to be conscious instead of slipping into complete identification and remain in the smallness of it.
Okay, always observe the rolly roll.
Right, let the rolly roll.
Observe it.
Right, observe it. You know, observing and going fully into it, they are not two opposites. You can fully go in the situation and at the same time be observative.
Yes.
People think that there are spiritual people who say there are two approaches. Either you go fully into the experience or you just observe. But actually, there is only in the beginning, just the first moment seems to be two different things. But the one who really fully goes into the experience is very conscious and is at the same point like the one who starts with observing.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It's always a pleasure with you.
Thanks also with you. Okay.
Mario.
Thank you, Hariom.
Mario.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Moksha.
Ah, you can hear me. That's great.
I see your name and I hear your voice.
And now I try to see if I can make a picture out of here. Because I'm using another computer and I don't know how I can put the... Yeah, but you can hear me anyhow.
Yes, but if you go at the lower left corner, there is a camera which has most probably now a red thread about it. You go on it and tip on it, then it turns on the camera.
Yeah, no, this video has no camera, but it is now an external camera she is putting on.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So it will soon happen, maybe.
There it is.
Oh, yeah, something is happening.
Yeah.
Yes, what you just said, that is so my experience, like there is not coming a distance to life. I'm coming more and more into life because I'm not, how you say it? Because I'm less afraid of it.
Yes.
So it's exactly what you said is my experience. If we...
Hey, nice. And now I can see both of you.
Yeah, this, it becomes more alive, right?
Right. The more you are alert, the more you are conscious, the more your life is full from moment to moment in all the life situations. It's not simply when you withdraw for your spiritual practices, but if you are alert, if you are alive, then it's that fullness is there all the time.
Yeah, I have the feeling I come more and more into life because the Widerstand, the resistance becomes less. Yes.
Yes, right. Right. Then you more and more, you just flow with every moment without always resisting. Become like a river. If there is too much of an obstacle, you just go round it.
Yeah. And especially in my case now, that I become closer to somebody, it is what I want to say actually.
What can you say about it?
What can you say about it? Huh? Yeah, then it is good to stay connected with myself and not complete. No, I don't get the sentence together.
Anyhow, being connected with yourself and living your life fully from moment to moment and giving full attention to somebody else or to a group or to the whole world in a way, they are not contradictions.
Yes.
At all.
Yes. If I have to experience how I'm more and more are with me, I'm deeper connected with the other.
Yeah.
it's this, yeah.
Right. It's still, as I said just before to Rolly, it is helpful to have every day some time where you really let go of connecting with things, with people, and just connect with the essence, with that which makes the experience possible as good as you can. And then that strengthens that capacity to remain alert, and then bring that attitude as good as you can in your daily life, with your friends, with your close ones, with your less close ones, with everyone you meet, with the whole universe.
Ja.
You're frozen.
Ja.
Now it's back.
Was du gerade gesagt hast, what you just said, Werner, you were gone, the sound.
The sound was gone. I see.
Yes.
Since when?
Since you said take time for yourself to connect with yourself, né? Then take that time for yourself. That was the main thing.
That strengthens that capacity to be aware of that aspect that is not affected by what is happening. But then you can come out of focusing only on that and connect with the world, connect with your loved ones who are very close, and with those who are less close. Actually, you connect with everything you meet, and you connect with the whole universe. But that capacity that we're developing by having daily some time doing nothing else but connecting with that essence, then it makes it easier and easier to connect with that also when we are in our daily life, in our activities, involved with people, involved with so many things. And it gives a richness to it. It's not a contradiction. Then it helps. Then the more you are alert in your daily life, the easier it becomes when you withdraw and just focus on the essence. Withdraw your attention from the manifestation, and the deeper you go, when you withdraw your attention, the easier it becomes in your daily life when you connect with people.
Absolutely. So for me, practicing, no way to stop it. The practice, always sitting I absolutely need it. Otherwise I get lost.
Right. And I'm not telling people to meditate and meditate like mad, because I have been doing that, but that was my story. If that is not their way to go about it, then it's not their way to go about it. When I say have every day some time, then I don't necessarily mean that we sit cross-legged with closed eyes, but have a time that in one way or another we are not disturbed and can really focus on the essence, and that which makes the experience possible. For some people it may be easier to walk gently somewhere where you are not disturbed all the time, or whatever. But the time every day, if it's possible, it can be shorter, it can be longer according to one's own inclinations. But the time every day is like charging the batteries to make it easier after that, to keep it up easier when we are with people, and especially when tough situation comes. When there are confrontations, then if we do that gradually, more and more, even in the confrontations, we are capable of deep down knowing, after all, it's not so important as it seems. It's just a big spectacle that is happening, but there is something that is absolutely not affected by it.
Yeah, beautiful, huh? We just keep on going.
We just keep going, yes.
Yeah, and the meditation. I am fortunate. I have much time for meditation, so I'm fortunate.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Werner. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Wish you well together. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
I have a question. Hi, Werner.
Hello.
You don't know me, but I come occasionally. I'm in Geneva, Switzerland, actually.
You're living in Switzerland?
Yes, in Geneva.
Ah, yes.
So I have a question about judgment.
Yes.
You know, I try to, I've had some very deep experiences recently where I've really gone inside and really trying to operate from my bigger self.
Yes.
Live through the bigger self, not just the.
Yeah.
And I still find myself, especially judging myself, like all the time. Even just now, I went to pour myself a cup of water from this beautiful pot that I have with some rose quartz crystals. And I'm like, oh no, you have to fill that up first, like before you do all of this judgment, like always that I feel like I'm doing something wrong. It's a samskara, it's so deep. And I feel like even when I'm operating at that broader level, it just keeps coming back. And I'm catching those little things. I mean, the bigger things are what's important, but actually, I think what's more important is all those little judgments that are just constant.
Yes.
That's part of my modus operandi. And I want to get rid of it.
Right. And that's enough. At least now you're aware of it. Previous, you have also been doing that all the time, but you were not even aware of it. And if we repeat something over and over, unconsciously, it's getting stronger and stronger. And then we decide, okay, now it's enough. We don't do that anymore. But then, of course, out of habit, we do it all the time in spite of that. And it's unpleasant to watch, to see, hey, no more. And there we go again. But that very fact that you see it and you don't really like it and you want to get rid of it is starting to change it. Even if you are not quite aware that it's doing something. You think you judge all the time, but maybe before when you were not aware, you were even judging more. And gradually, if you keep that awareness and you see for what it is, completely useless waste of energy in all this judgmentalism towards you or towards whatever is happening, then it gradually will disappear. That awareness of it makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's freedom. I feel like there's freedom on the other side.
Right, freedom is right here, and we are free to choose freedom. But then old habits will invariably pull us away from it again and again. But the seeing of it makes a difference. When I came to Amma, then I started to meditate all the time. That she said to me, yes, you can sit, you want to sit, so sit. Don't do anything else. That's what I did, as good as I could. But instead of getting more peaceful, it was getting worse and worse and worse. That I had no idea how much crap I had been carrying around. And then gradually it was a little reducing, but I remember I was 5 years in sitting, and then I was complaining to Amma, but I'm sitting always on my bum. But really nothing changes. I get up, somebody insults me, and I react in the same stupid old way as usual. And she said exactly this, at least now we are aware of it. And we were talking about it. And gradually, as the time passed, I understood that she was totally right. That makes all the difference. So don't judge yourself that you are judging. Then when you see it, then there you go again. And you let that particular little event go and come back. You can learn to go about it playfully instead of feeling every time pissed that you see it and think, oh no, not again. Then there it comes again. So what? Here I am. And then you just let it go for the moment.
Thank you. Yeah, that really resonates, the playfulness.
Playfulness is so helpful, that we don't take the whole thing so serious that it becomes a heavy, heavy burden, a terrible work that we have to do. If we go about it playfully, we are equally or more efficient, and it makes it's playful, it's joyous instead of a painful.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, yes.
I feel like I'm like sinning or something constantly, but it's, you know, it's the Christian indoctrination. It's hard to let go. But yeah, thank you, Werner. Yes.
You're welcome. Adio, adio.
Adio.
Is there anybody else who would like to come? Where are we? Time? No, there is some more time. Anybody would like to talk? Please talk. What I just said to Christina, that playfulness, I have been many times talking about it, but I cannot repeat it too much, I feel. That is something that we have been conditioned while growing up in the society. Okay, it's good for little children, they can squeal and they can play and they can laugh and have a good time, but then gradually we should learn the seriousness of life. And then everything becomes more and more serious. Okay, you can in between have some fun and have some, get wasted or whatever, but then come back to the seriousness of life. And then it becomes such a habit of functioning like this, that we take everything so serious. And then even when we start the spiritual path and look for truth, look for freedom, look for happiness, look for being liberated of all that, then we do the same thing, have the tendency to do the same thing, to be very, very serious about it. But we can also learn to be very playful about it. It's not that we are less sincere, that seriousness and sincerity, they are not the same thing. Sincerity means that we really sincerely want truth. And that sincerity usually comes when we become aware that our life is so full of pain and suffering that is not really necessary, and I'm fed up with it. I don't want it anymore. And then when we go about it sincerely, to remove all that, to have a good honest look at ourselves and see that I'm producing that stuff myself. That, okay, I have picked up a lot of handicaps in my upbringings, but it's I who keep on feeding them, repeating them, and doing that to myself. And then when we see that, we can go about it to remove whatever is disturbing. And we can become very serious about it, and then it's just again another new terrible job in my life that I have to do. Well, if we go about it more playfully, it's equally efficient, often more. If we can learn to laugh about ourselves and say, okay, in spite of all my practices, in spite of all my good intentions, there it got me again completely. So what? It's gone, I see it, it's the past, it doesn't matter. Right now, I'm here and now, and fresh and new and beautiful, and can go about it joyously instead of being depressed about having not exactly lived up to the standard that I think I should by now be capable of living up. Okay, I see it, I learned from it. Thanks for the lesson, it's gone. I'm new and fresh here. If we learn to develop that playfulness, that playful attitude, everything is so much easier. And we don't have to wait until the big day where we somehow are in a new state of consciousness to stop suffering. The more we learn to live like this, the more we see the suffering and see how we are creating it and learn not to do it. And our life gets gradually juicier, more cheerful, more joyous. There's no point in saying, but it's not the ultimate. Sometimes when I talk like this and arthritic people tell me, but that's not the real joy, the ultimate joy. So what? I'm living here now in the state of awareness I am, and I like to be happy. And happy doesn't mean that I'm getting oblivious and forget the truth. In contrary, in that happiness, in that playfulness, in that joyousness, it's easier if that sincerity is there that I really want truth. It's easier to connect with the now, with that aspect that is not affected. So it's a good thing to remind oneself when we become aware, there I'm again. Taking it all so heavy. I can let it go. I don't need to keep it up. It doesn't serve any purpose. All right. Is there anybody who want to come in? We have some more time.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Nelly.
Oh, thank you very much for what you said about playfulness.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's very helpful for me. Now I see a lot of stuff coming up in myself. I see a lot of unpleasant moments and yes, unpleasant things.
Yeah.
And it's not very pleasant.
Yes.
To see it. Yeah, all these emotions and irritation and some egoism I see, and yeah, I watch it and I try not to judge myself, and from the other side I see that I can't just artificially be kind, be good. Yeah, this is, I just watch that I am what I am just now. Yeah, what is coming up. Yeah, look at it. And it was very helpful to to hear about playfulness again, because sometimes it's rather heavy to see all these things. Yeah.
Right. It can be a bummer, and then you can sometimes feel there is so much, and what they are talking about, in what state you could live, that seems to be such a big difference that there's no chance that they're ever going to get there. But this is again a game of the mind that we are creating, that the old handicap of the mind, that it's too much. It appears sometimes in the mind like this, but actually that what we are looking for is always here. It's the closest, it's not far away. and it can go gradually easier, and then suddenly there goes a bit, and still there may be work to do, but from there on it goes easier.
Yeah, I hope. I see that I stick so much to some things, and I feel a lot of tension because of it. Yeah, I heard that last satsang you talk about defendants, that when we defend too much, we make a lot of tension.
Defending means
defending. When we defend.
In what context?
When we want to maybe to defend ourselves.
Yeah, to justify our way of acting.
No, to protect. To protect ourselves from these things. Yeah. From this thing, from that thing, and to do everything all right, and it makes a lot of tension. Yeah, and I feel something like this.
Yes.
In myself, I see that I want to correct, do this correct and that, and I feel this tension, and but I want to be free to be don't care too much about some things, and
right. As a spiritual sadhak, as a being on the spiritual path, we have to act right. And then the mind can be, what is the right thing? What is the right thing to do? And instead of that, you can just be yourself and relaxed and natural. But then sometimes you make blunders. So what? Then you see it and learn from it. And okay, there in a situation like this, I could act differently. But that fear of making mistakes, we can let go. After all, what we call mistakes are experiences that make us richer. That we are richer for the experience. If we look back in our life, the profoundest lessons we have learned usually when we made so-called mistakes, when we were not necessarily behaving correct. Mistakes are not really mistakes. They are experiences, learning situations. And if we get the lesson, then maybe we don't need to repeat them. And if we don't get the lesson, then we may repeat them. And still, I wouldn't call it a mistake if we learn from it. The only thing that I really call a mistake is I know perfectly well something is totally wrong, it causes suffering for me or for others, and I keep on doing it in spite of that. That is the only thing I call a mistake. All else, all the little mistakes we make, they are just learning experiences. They are not really mistakes.
Yes, I see, Werner.
You know, I had in my practice time, I had 2 periods where the past came very strong. In the first period, it started after a few months that I really started to sit, and then the past came heavy. And it was all connected with what people have been doing, and all my angry reactions I kept because of that, but it was all about the others, what they have been doing, and I had to work somehow, let the anger come up and work with that and let it disappear. But then much later, the past came once again, very strongly. But there I saw really how I have been functioning. That somehow I could see from that perspective there was where I was in at that time, that my motivations, my feelings, whatever has been happening when I have been acting, much better than when it was present. And I became aware how much I'm still hanging on to it, because somehow when I saw it, I felt so yuck, it's so terrible. I felt so, it's just a horror story that basically seeing them, basically the motivation was always so total selfishness. Even when I was doing good things, and sometimes I did good things before in my life, and sometimes people also benefited from it, but there was always that egoistic aspect in it, that the motivation that somehow it's, I personally can squeeze out something extra from it. And it was a total revelation, but not a pleasant one. It was like yuck, 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 yuck. But then it was also clear, okay, it's that is just bound to happen. There's no point in hanging on and judging and think, oh, it's terrible, it's terrible. After all, it brought me to the point where I am now. And I can let go the whole emotional attachment that is hanging on to it. Okay. And then I can look at it like any story, like the story of somebody else. And there I'm much more objective and relaxed about it. But when it's me, my story, then I have the tendency to be all, ooh, terrible, terrible. It should not have been, I should not have acted like this, or the others should not have acted like this. But if we look at the same story, a story of somebody else, and such things happens, we can be much more relaxed about it and objective. And we can learn to let that emotional attachment go and have that same objectivity. And then it's just a story. And the story from which you are learning, from which you are getting richer.
Yeah, yes, that's right. I'm watching it, yes, going through this, through these things, and yeah, and I see that I stick to some statements very much, and they it handicapped me, a lot, and I see a lot of fear, or maybe I don't know, fear or something, or like I can't let it go. I want to let it go because I want to be free from it, but I don't know like to do it. I don't know. Yeah, I look at it, just look at it and like breath, but now I can't move. Yeah.
So what you can do when fear comes, when you become aware how there is fear, a lot of fear there, you said you try to let it go. Okay, if you can let it go, and it's gone. But if it's not going, even after repeatedly trying to let it go, then you can accept, okay, let me really totally go into the experience. And you even open up to fear. You invite fear. You say, okay, come, here I am. Let me experience fear fully. And let that feeling come consciously. and observe what is happening in my body when I'm so full in that fear experience. What is happening energetically? And that very fact that you are then not more afraid of the fear, not afraid of being afraid, no fear of the fear, but to accept the experience of fear, then it's losing its sting, its power. And gradually, if you do this in this way, gradually the old power that fear has over you is diminishing and finally disappearing.
Yeah, I try, Werner, I try to look at my physical body, and I feel tension. I try to breathe and relax, but it is very strong. I see it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, with various success. Right. Anyhow, the very fact that you consciously make the attempt is doing something very profound. That's all we can. We can make the attempt. How much successful we are from moment to moment doesn't really lay in our hands. We don't have the freedom for that, how much successful we are in our attempts. But whether we do make that attempt or not, that lays in our hands. And that makes in the long run all the difference.
Okay, Werner, thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Yeah.
Just go on like this. Hari Om, Hari Om,
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om.
Hari Om.
Okay, I think we leave it at that for today. I wish everybody well and going to turn off the recording. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.